Welcome, Naimeen.
Hello.
Good evening. I really love your blouse.
Oh, look at it. Let me preserve. It's hand embroidered from Chiapas, Mexico. Very colorful, right?
Oh, what was that? I think I heard an echo.
I was saying that it was
Oh,
embroidered, hand embroidered from Chiapas.
really? Oh my goodness. How incredible. Yeah. Wow. I'm always so enthralled. Yeah, enthralled by people who are just so meticulous. I
I
just
know that was my grandma and my mom. They love embroidery and they knit and crochet. And sadly, I didn't inherited any of those genes.
mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. I think same. My mom I never met my grandmother, but my mother tells me that she tells me that my grandmother, even when she was like in her 90s, was able to thread a needle in her, elderly age. And that's one of the biggest things I heard about my grandmother, but I struggle to mend a hole in my jeans. So, but we get there. Yeah. But wonderful to see you. And wonderful to see all the new faces, or new folks hopping on. Welcome this evening. Feel free to, we'll get started here in a few minutes. So feel free to grab some water, grab a snack. I know it's getting close to dinner time. Whatever you need. Good evening, everyone. I see that it's 5:30. I might give us a few more moments for folks to slowly trickle in here, but just want to take a moment to say welcome. And I will say, as I sit here in our virtual call, I can hear, I don't know if anyone else lives in the flight path of the crows, but the crows are very talkative this evening, and it does feel a little bit like a Halloween horror movie, but I'm hopefully you all can't hear them through my headphones. But yeah, very wonderful. And I'll give us just, okay, wonderful. Well, I see that more folks are hopping on, so I'll go ahead um, and take a moment to get us started here. Well, hello, everyone. We're so glad that you're here joining us this evening. We know that you all, I'm so sure, have no shortage of things to do on your Wednesday, January 17th evening. But even so, we're so grateful that you chose to spend this time with us. My name is Bikela Ikoba, and I'm one of the team members at Harder and Company Community Research. Um, and I'm joined here tonight by a couple of facilitators. And specifically, I'm joined here tonight by my colleague Liz, as well as a new colleague who I don't believe has made it to this space. So I'll give her a moment to introduce herself momentarily here.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Vanessa, and I am a facilitator for the Shafter community. And I'll be providing note-taking and tech support. And I just wanted to say how excited I am to be here, how honored I am to be here, and really thankful that you all have allowed me to be in your space tonight. So thank you so much. And very nice to meet you all virtually.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And yes, as some of you may know, we are usually joined by our wonderful colleague Amy, who is unable to join us for this evening. But the three of us look forward to being a facilitation team to help support the flow of the different agenda items throughout the night. With that, I'm so excited for everyone to be here this evening, and we are available to provide any support as helpful. Before we open up our meeting, I would love to take a moment to invite our wonderful Linguistica team to provide some interpretation guidance for us. So I'm wondering, would you feel comfortable, Tanya, to share this evening?
Yes, thank you very much. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Les recordamos que ya tenemos la interpretación disponible al español. Si usted desea escuchar esta junta en español y se unió con una computadora, en la parte de abajo de su pantalla va a ver el icono de un mundo. Por favor, seleccione ese icono y seleccione el canal de español. También le invitamos a seleccionar silenciar el audio original para que solo escuche una voz a la vez. Y al finalizar, ya nos va a poder escuchar, pero si usted se ingresó con una computadora, perdón, con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, necesita tocar su pantalla y va a buscar los tres puntitos del menú de Zoom, ya sea en la parte de arriba o de abajo de su dispositivo. Seleccione donde diga interpretación de idioma, seleccione español. Nuevamente, silenciar el audio original y por último es muy importante que seleccione el botón que dice Done, listo o finalizado para que ya nos pueda escuchar. Y ahora voy a dar mis instrucciones en inglés. Hello everyone, this is just a reminder that we are providing simultaneous interpretation for this meeting. So if you are a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way you will have that immediate interpretation from Spanish into English. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a glove at the bottom of your screen. Please click on the glove and select English. And if you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options are a little different. You need to tap your screen. You need to find the three dots either on top or at the bottom of your device. Select a language interpretation. Select English, and then it's very important to click Done. That way you have that option ready for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. We really appreciate it. So yes, so as we transition to this next slide, we would just love to encourage each of you, if you haven't already taken a chance already, we invite you to please select the microphone button or the mute button in order to mute yourself, just because we know that all of the background sounds tend to flare up at just the most random of times. And so in my case, it was crows a moment ago. So if you're not speaking, we just invite you to click that microphone button so that you're on mute when we're not speaking. So in order to change your name, Just feel free to refer to the instructions here on the screen using this naming convention. If you're a CSC member, we invite you to use CSC in front of your name, just so we know that. If you are a resident, we invite you, or a CSC and a CSC member, we invite you to put that R in front of your name. And this is just a helpful and important reminder for us, as it helps us track attendance, especially for those participating in the stipend program. For everyone else, we invite you to use the naming convention listed on the screen, with your first and last name, followed by your agency, with AD or CARB if you're from those entities, a P in front of your name for general public, and any other organization name. And with that, as we enter into this space this evening, we would love to start this time off just by sharing our typical virtual meeting etiquette recommendations, guidelines that we'd love to enter into collectively this evening. As a reminder, we encourage you to stay on mute again, unless you are speaking or planning to speak. If you're connected by phone, feel free to use that *6 to select the mute or unmute option. If you have a question or comment, we invite you to raise your hand on Zoom. We try really hard to be mindful of that, so invite you to do that. And if you're calling in by phone, you will need to press a *9. And then, as a reminder for residents participating in the stipend program, you would need to stay at least 75% of the meeting tonight in order to be eligible for that stipend. So our meeting officially started at 5:30, so you would need to stay on until around 7 o'clock to be eligible for that. And so I'm just going to quickly walk through some of our typical group agreements that we have in order to ensure we have a productive time and space this evening. Number one, we just want to encourage each of you to help us achieve our meeting goals by focusing on solutions and opportunities, pointing towards that together and trying to maintain a productive dialogue. We're a fairly large group, and so we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate. So, if you tend to talk a lot during meetings, we encourage you to make space for others. And if you tend to stay more on the quieter, reserved side, we really want to hear your voice and encourage you to and welcome you to take up that space and to share your ideas or questions with the group. We invite you to be civil and respectful. In this space, we want to name that it is totally okay to disagree and that this can be done and done so respectfully. We do have a packed agenda, as we do every meeting, and so we invite everyone to try to stay on point and on time by keeping comments brief and to the point, just so that we really are entering into a space where everyone has the chance to speak. Next, we would love to remind everyone that where there is disagreement, remember to attack the problem and not the person. We really want the space to be a place where we honor each other's humanity and dignity, and we are humans before any other roles or positions we might hold. Lastly, but not least, we invite you all to do our best by seeking common ground and finding opportunities to identify solutions. And so with that, this evening, we have our welcome and introductions, which we are doing right at this very moment in time. Welcome. Next, we have our action item tracker follow-up, followed by urban greening and vegetative barriers updates, our truck reroute study update, the 2024 planning meeting, connecting about that, followed by standing updates, talking about next steps and agenda setting, and the final public comment. So with that, that kind of concludes our introductory slides for the evening. Thank you so much, Liz, for screen sharing for us this evening, those slides. At this time, I would love to invite Ryan from the Valley Air District to share any opening remarks with the CSC that you might have for us. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you so much, Michaela, and good evening, everyone. Really happy to be here. First meeting of 2024. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, and I hope you've had an excellent start to the year. Really excited about tonight's meeting. We're touching on some of the CERT measures that were early on were identified as being some of the most important, and really can't thank Mona, Naimeen, Julio, and Scott in advance for, I know it's going to be a great update on the progress that's being made, and how that measure is going to be benefiting the not only the community residents but everybody in Fresno area. And then also looking forward to Jill and John sharing about the truck reroute study, which was definitely one of the most highly prioritized measures of the South Central Fresno CERP. So I think this is going to be a really great meeting, and I think there's going to be a lot of good feedback and insight on these two measures, and looking forward to hearing from all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. And hi, everyone. This is Liz. Happy to transition us to our action item tracker review before we jump into our packed agenda. As a reminder, we review our action item tracker at every meeting, and this is to help facilitate transparency and accountability between the Air District and the CSC to ensure that the Air District continuously updates the tracker and to make sure that the community's requests are documented and that you stay informed of the progress being made towards implementing your suggestions. And as Nancy provides these updates, feel free to ask brief questions. And if there's anything that can't be answered tonight, we will note that down and bring it back to another meeting. And so with that, I'm happy to pass it to Nancy.
Thank you, Liz. This is Nancy. Good evening, everybody. So happy to be here with all of you. Can you believe it's 2024 now? So we're gonna take a little bit of a journey back in time and go over these action items. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Perfect. Thank you. And so just as a reminder, these action items are just a routine check-in. And so they are categorized into 4 different categories: in progress, complete, ongoing, and comment noted. So I will go ahead and begin with the in progress section. And again, this is going to be from our November CSC meeting. So we are going to just go over these action items. And so to begin with, we are going to be talking about the in progress action items. So action item 60.3. And this one reads CCEJN plus Tree Fresno to present an update about treeing efforts in the AB 617 district in the first quarter of next year, which is today, the present. And so we do have representatives from CCEJN and from Tree of Fresno, which will be they will be providing an update on urban greening, vegetative barrier measures during this meeting. And so action item 60.4, the Air District to reach out to Fresno Unified to gain more information about where Fresno Unified intends to deploy electric school buses. And we want to share more context with the CSC about how those decisions were made. And so now that school is fully back in session, we can continue with this action item. And so we are working with Fresno Unified to gather information on where electric school buses are being deployed, and will provide more information to the CSC at an upcoming meeting. All right, and then so action item 60.5, the Air District will invite the City of Fresno to attend an upcoming CSC meeting and listen to CSC concerns. We did, at the previous CSC meeting in November, we did have a lot of conversation regarding, where can we plant trees? Can we do it on the sidewalk? And then what's going on with the truck route study? And so we do have an agenda item where the City of Fresno will be providing more information. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And so returning back to the beginning, we're going to go over the completed action items. And so 60.6, the CSC is invited to join Familias en Acción block party on December 16. And so I really hope that this was a successful event. And then let's see, 60.8. The CSC is invited to join the district's next air purifier distribution event on November 17th. So this was at the Reading and Beyond block party. And so we actually went out, district staff went out to this event where we distributed air purifiers to qualified residents living within the AB 617 boundary. And so action item 60.9, the CSC is invited to submit feedback for the annual report, which was for last year. This was for the draft annual report. And so now you can actually find the finished product. And I can also go ahead and link that down below after the action items. And so moving forward with action item 60.10, the next technical steering committee and community advisory group for the truck reroute study it occurred on November 16th. And so if you have any further questions regarding the truck reroute study or related health assessment questions, you can also email the City of Fresno at AB617 truckreroutestudy@fresno.gov. So now on to the ongoing action items. So from 60.7, at an upcoming CSC meeting, the Air District will review their community events tracker to continue soliciting CSC feedback and to assess effectiveness of outreach to communities. So we want to ensure that we are targeting everybody and just being very inclusive and help provide these free air purifiers for a variety of people. And so the district will continue to work with the CSC to explore diverse outreach opportunities in the community. And feedback is always welcome. And you can always email us upcoming events and details to our ab617@valley.org email address. And then last but not least, the comment noted section for the action items. So 60.1, future presentations to the CSC will include data visualizations to show how target measures are related to health outcomes and emission reduction. So the district will include more detail on the expected public health impacts of target emissions reduction in future presentations. So staff will work with interested CSC members in crafting these types of presentations to ensure they are accessible and answer members' concerns. Moving forward to 60.2, future presentations to the CSC will include a report of monitoring data to show how projected reductions in air emissions compare to live data from and in communities. So the district will continue to provide the CSC with updates on community air monitoring data at upcoming meetings to understand impacts of clean air measures. And if there's something specific that you would like to learn or know more about, you can always connect with me. I will make sure to link down my information after the action items and we can talk about things. And then so last but not least, action item 60.11, agencies and organizations are encouraged to reach out to Lilia at Familias en Acción to collaborate on strategies to address potential apartment developments within the boundary on 8th and Ventura. Agencies and organizations can reach out to Lilia by emailing her at info@familiasenaccionfresno.org. All right. And so that concludes all the action items from the November CSC meeting. We did have a lot to discuss. And so we can open the floor to any questions. You can always also drop them down in the chats.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Definitely a lot of action items and just shows how much work is going on with all of these different projects in the South Fresno CSE. I'll just pause. I know that was a lot, so I want to give folks a moment to see if any questions or comments are coming up before we move on. Not seeing any. And if they do, feel free to put those in the chat. And so we can move to our next agenda item. As we'll be hearing an update about the urban greening and vegetative barriers CERT measures. So in our last CSC meeting in November, when we talked through some of the topics that folks were hoping to discuss in the new year, these two measures were definitely at one of the top priorities and interests from the CSC. So we know there's a lot of interest in how these measures are progressing. Just some context in case folks have forgotten, or maybe for our newer CSC members, this all came about when the Air District worked with the CSC as a part of the CERP to develop an RFP, which is a request for proposals. And so that is contracting with local agencies and organizations who were actually able to implement this work. So now we have the city of Fresno and Tree Fresno here, along with CCEJN, all here to provide some updates to you all and answer any questions from the CSE. So I am happy to pass it off to you all to provide those updates, and then we'll facilitate some questions and answers. So I believe passing it to Tree Fresno.
Hello, everybody. This is Mona Nyandero Cummings, CEO of Tree Fresno. And I guess we will start with, I'm not sure if urban greening is presenting first or if it's vegetative barriers. Do you mind which one?
No, and that is a good reminder that they are two separate measures, similar, but thank you for that distinction. Start with whichever.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start. And yes, it's important to understand there are two separate grants, though they have the commonality that they both have trees in common. So, so I'll just say that. But I would like to give the update on the vegetative barrier project. And then our colleague Julio Lopez with CCEJN will give the update on the urban greening effort. So as I mentioned, these two projects have similarities in that we're dealing with the same boundary area. So the residents of the area, the businesses, the public agencies that are located there, the nonprofits, we are all dealing with sort of the same, what I would consider community partners in both of these programs. Now, with the vegetative barrier project, Tree Fresno brought to the forefront when we initiated our proposal. In the approved proposal, we had a big project with the city of Fresno. So that city of Fresno project is focused on Golden State Boulevard. So am I able to share my screen? Okay. I'm actually going to put something here. See how we can look at it. Golden State Boulevard. What I will say is that this is an initial plan. It takes some time to actually formulate and approve the final plan, which would consist of the tree plan and the irrigation plans associated with the building of a vegetative barrier. So as you can see, this runs along Golden State Boulevard. And we have we have it looks like Date Avenue here, or I believe Jensen actually runs to the south. So this just gives you a visual of the area. It's a very industrial area. The trees themselves, we are planning to have two varieties of trees, primarily, including the cork oak as the dominant tree in this area, and then a smaller size tree. And I can't remember, I think it could be a red bud that is the smaller size tree. And then as well, for the vegetative barrier to become more dense, so it can capture pollutants, we will also have shrubs. So this is the preliminary drawing of this, the plan for the project. And again, it could shift a little bit depending on mostly the city of Fresno, where they want to see this barrier positioned and where we can access it readily and where we understand the boundaries are for obviously control of the property. So there could be industrial areas next to it where we don't want to infringe on their property. So since July, so it's been approximately since July since both of these grants have been in play. Tree Fresno has been working very closely with the City of Fresno Public Works team, including Director Scott Mosier, and instrumental members of especially the irrigation and kind of like infrastructure development team. So we meet regularly, and that includes Tree Fresno's landscape architect, who has been designing this project with the input from the city of Fresno. So that has been occurring. We've had monthly meetings, and we actually had to shift the location already from the very beginning of the project to avoid the high-speed rail construction. So the initial proposal, the city had thought we would be building it, I think, a little further north. So we moved it to a location where it would be a successful barrier. So let's see here. We have been meeting, designing, and I'm kind of going to jump ahead a little bit to give you an idea of where we are at this point in time. We're finalizing, updating the tree plan and irrigation plan with the involvement of the city. We will go through a process of determining ideal dates to begin and complete the project, to establish a timeline for irrigation installation, and hopefully some level of volunteer planting. So that is, we're hoping that we can create a safe enough environment to be able to involve residents and those who work in the area to participate in at least part of this planting. So we're going to explore the potential and safety of volunteer tree planting. And we are developing an outreach plan, coordinating with the city to share the finalized plan with the community in conjunction with sharing information about potential volunteer opportunities. So that gives us an opportunity to receive also feedback on the concept of vegetative barriers, the location of the vegetative barrier, and then also at that meeting, I will say we would also publicize the fact that we have the residential program, which Julio will be talking about, the Adopt a Tree program through the urban greening program. So we find that both of these two grants are able to capitalize on the others' work by communicating with the public that we're doing lots of planting in this boundary area. There's vegetative barriers for areas that qualify. There's general community tree planting, such as schools and obviously street trees, which we work with the city of Fresno on that. There could be a private enterprise that exists in this boundary area where we could also put more trees to benefit all the residents in the region. And then there's also that residential tree planting, the 5-gallon trees, which Julio will talk about. Aside from this larger and the primary vegetative barrier that we've already begun with the city of Fresno, there is, as we see, there will be further funding for additional vegetative barriers. So in this process, in addition to speaking to the city of Fresno, I'm also working with Caltrans. I've also asked for locations of housing authority, Fresno Housing Authority sites within the boundary area, because those properties tend to have more real estate. So in some of those locations, they may be near a busy roadway, which is an ideal place to construct a vegetative barrier. So Caltrans, and then also we are actually working with a large property management company. So we have received 200 addresses, and among those, even though probably 80 to 90% are single family homes, which Julio can use to address the resident tree program, we can also, Tree Fresno can look at those, the multifamily housing apartment buildings as a potential for constructing vegetative barriers. So that is where we are at this point. Next step is definitely meeting with the city again, finalizing this plan for where the trees and irrigation will go, making sure that we have control of all of that property, and collaborating with the city on when this construction can begin. And that would also entail having contractors bid. We'll probably have at least 3 bids on the work here on Golden State Boulevard, so that we can have a better understanding of what the price of that work will cost. There we go.
Thank you so much, Mona. And a lot of information just shared, so definitely open to questions and comments. And I see we already have a hand from Genevieve.
Thanks, Mona. This was really helpful. I just have a few questions. The project that you shared the map of, that you're working with the city of Fresno, is that funded through the AB 617 Fresno work? Because it sounds like you were talking a lot about a lot of projects, but is this one funded through
absolutely? So yes, this Golden State Boulevard project is basically, we're working with the city of Fresno, but the funding is coming from Valley Air AB 617 to make it happen.
Okay. And so it was my understanding that the funding for the buffer zones, like the trees used as buffers, would be between sensitive receptors like homes and schools and pollution sources like highways or industrial facilities. And in the map you shared, it looks like more of like a urban greening of an industrial area rather than a buffer between residential and industrial, or residential and mobile sources. Could you help me understand the intent behind the project? Because I had a different understanding of how this would play out.
Sure. Let me see. So we, one other thing is, I had the project looked at by our partners at Sonoma Technology on the kind of like wind directions, etc. And that, I don't have it right here, but it definitely qualifies as improvement of air quality in the region. Again, obviously there's industry, but there's the prevention of flow of that pollution from going into nearby communities. I understand what you're saying about, so often we'll build vegetative barriers near a school or, near a residential setting. This one is a little bit different, as it is along in an industrial area, but it still benefits the region, the area, from preventing that flow from these companies or the industrial activity that's occurring there to the community in the region. So I wish I'll when I find the actual email and the description of the value of it, I will actually post it in the chat. But we are, in addition to this project, we are looking for other locations that are what you would consider sensitive receptors near schools and near places like closer to residences, like within, half mile or quarter mile within that busy roadway system.
Okay, thank you. So Sonoma Technology did an analysis that found that these trees would capture airborne particulates and keep them from traveling into nearby communities.
Yes. But that's, I will tell you, ideally for us at Tree Fresno, we do prefer to plant like right near a school, or engage the school, or engage the sensitive receptor closer to that site. But this definitely has the benefits, and it's longer. That's the great thing about working with this region, is that we can actually build a longer vegetative barrier, and we can talk about, the future, like with the city actually creating more of that along Golden State Boulevard. I hope that satisfies you at this point. I do hope to bring other projects forward as well, and it may be also with the city of Fresno near sensitive populations like schools.
Thank you.
And I don't know if Scott, you're on here. Could you maybe say a few words about why this particular area was chosen as the first vegetative barrier?
Thank you, Mona. Thank you. Good to see everyone. Dan, I did have hand raised, just thinking along the same lines. Just from the city perspective, wanted to say thanks again to the steering committee for supporting supporting Tree Fresno's application with CC EJN for the project. And the city is, we're providing services on this one. None of the dollars are flowing to the city as an organization on this. Our partnership with Tree Fresno is the city is providing basically at no cost the plan review, field inspection for this work. All the contracting is happening, outside, not involving the city directly, and we're issuing basically then a no-fee permit for that work to go in. And then the really ultimately the high dollar item is the long-term maintenance and care along the median island. So excuse me. So this area, really there is residential within the area. It's lacked historic investment in green infrastructure and trees. This is something we've heard of from the community as well. So we thought this was a great application, a great concept. Again, we appreciate the steering committee support on it. And I did want to also just touch on really the heart of this project also is just this opportunity for tree planting in the neighborhoods. And basically, as the city, we simply require that the property owner is willing to water and care for the tree. And then again, all of those can get permitted. So we hope to see a lot of new trees, a lot of air emission benefits occurring in the community. So and available for any questions. But we really thank everyone for the partnership.
Thank you, Scott. And great question. I see we have a couple hands up, and I know, Lilia, you have your hand, and I just want to ask Ryan really quick if you wanted to respond to the current question that we're talking about, or if you had a different point.
No, I just want to provide, I think, some additional, context. Mona touched on a little bit about the research and the studies, and I think there's different kinds of vegetative barriers. I think there's the school, which is important for, protecting kids. I think putting some of these barriers next to highly trafficked roads is able to capture some of those on-road emissions right at the point of where they're generated. There's a lofting that happens with particulate in a lot of cases, and it spreads out and disperses. And so by having vegetated barriers close to the points of origin, you're able to capture a lot of those emissions. And I know in the diagram that Mona didn't share, but the community that's just to the east of that section is Kawa, and that is an area that has been historically under-resourced and underserved, and could definitely benefit from reduced particulate matter emissions, off of Golden State Avenue, I think. Mona, by all means, correct me if I'm incorrect.
No, that's absolutely accurate. And I'd actually like to read a little evaluation that they did at Sonoma Tech. And first thing they say, obviously, in general, trees always help mitigate pollution. And what this one looks like is that when winds are from the south and the east, workers at the facilities to the west, or residents at the facility to the west of the freeway, will be exposed to less emissions from the freeway due to the trees, which is helpful. And when the winds are from the west, the trees on the west side of the freeway will help mitigate the emissions from the facilities west of the freeway onto the communities east of the freeway, like what you said. So, and then so perhaps the effect, there's certainly a lot of immediate effect in the industrial areas and the workers, but then also east where the residences are that you pointed out are going to benefit as well. So I really want to focus on the remaining vegetative barriers, which we should have a good amount of funding for that to be closer to residential, within sort of quarter mile, which has that sort of immediate, has a little bit more immediate benefits, including just blocking even dust and pollutants like that, visual pollution, all of that. So you get the multi-tiered benefits of the trees beyond kind of the wind flow, a mile or so away.
Yeah, thank you both for the added information. And
see, Lilia's got her hand up.
I was just going to say thank you, Lilia, for being patient, and would love to hear your question.
Ya me había desesperado porque veo que me estaban brincando y no me gustó eso. Pero ok, buenas noches a todos. Sí, tiene razón, Genevieve. Estaba dando observación a tu presentación, Mona, y realmente es bonito mirar lo que estás enverdeciendo las áreas de las carreteras del Golden State, es muy bonito, pero mirándola al plazo, como estás diciendo, de poner árboles y arbustos, estamos dándoles más señalamientos y más sombra a las personas sin hogar. Entonces, yo no lo miro positivamente en el sentido de que las áreas donde se está necesitando en este momento no se están poniendo. Lamentablemente, la ciudad de Fresno, no sé qué está pasando con él, que no ha aprobado los permisos para que los pongan afuera de las áreas donde nosotros los estamos pidiendo. Principalmente, miramos el año pasado, las temperaturas están altas y yo, en mi personal, miro muchos estudiantes caminando casi la milla por áreas de donde no hay ni sombras, la verdad. Estamos hablando de la escuela Roosevelt, estudiantes que caminan hacia Calagua, caminan todo el tramo porque no agarran transporte público, no tienen quien los recoja. Entonces ellos caminan y caminan por áreas, de verdad que es muy triste mirar que las sombras se están poniendo en otros lados donde deberían de ponerse en el lado donde se deberían de poner. No debe de pasar esto, pienso yo. Otra de las cosas es que si están adoptando un árbol, adoptar un árbol es muy bonito también adoptar el árbol, pero yo, como lo dije a lo personal, no voy a adoptar un árbol adentro de mi casa pudiendo poner un árbol frutal. Entonces, si ustedes, muchos dueños de casa, no queremos un árbol afuera de mi jardín. Yo quiero un árbol frutal que pueda servirme, lo estoy regando y estoy recibiendo un fruto para poder comer de ahí mismo o tener una hortaliza donde yo pueda comer. Un arbusto en la calle a mí tampoco me beneficia. Yo tenía arbustos en mi calle, y los tuve que quitar porque muchas personas meten la droga en mis arbustos, entonces no es porque darles cabida a que metan eso en mis arbustos cuando yo quiero enverdecer mi área. So, repito, se me gusta la idea de que ponga las árboles porque necesitamos vegetación verde, pero también necesitamos priorizar las áreas donde de verdad se está necesitando, principalmente las áreas de cercanas a las escuelas. Golden State está lejísimo, está muy cerca, es más cerca la escuela Gastón, estamos en el ABC 17, estoy de acuerdo, pero no está en nuestra área, de verdad me siento triste porque creo que siento que no nos están escuchando, porque en la escuela Winchell, que es donde estoy trabajando, está la escuela grande. Lamentablemente la parte de afuera no hay cómo plantar árboles porque la ciudad no aprueba o el distrito no aprueba. Siempre hay contras para poder poner áreas verdes en las áreas que necesitamos de verdad. Estamos peleándonos con la contaminación. Las familias están esperando afuera de las escuelas con los autos prendidos porque no hay una sombra que se puedan bajar de su auto a estar esperando a sus niños afuera. ¿Por qué? Porque están en pleno sol. Necesitamos más sombras. Yo quiero 4 árboles aquí afuera de mi casa y hasta ahorita no se han podido aprobar. Yo tengo regadíos por parte mía. No han llegado esos regadíos. Yo tengo espacio para poner porque yo estoy enfrente de 2 escuelas. A mí me interesan tanto mis autos como las familias que pasan por la calle. Yo no tengo dónde estacionar mi auto porque no tengo sombra en la calle. Entonces tengo que buscar siempre un área donde ponerlos. Entonces, como dicen, hay unos dichos que ponen en las redes sociales. ¿Quieres sombra? Adopta un árbol. Yo necesito 4 en mi casa. Yo necesito 4 para ponerlos en la parte de afuera, no en mi jardín. En mi jardín necesito árboles frutales. Es mi punto de vista, creo yo, pienso que todos los residentes estamos igual hablando porque necesitamos más árboles, pero árboles en la calle, no árboles adentro de nuestras casas. Disculpen si fui un poquito fuerte, pero así es como estoy mirando las cosas.
I'd like to say something, because I didn't understand everything, but I understand some of that. And one of that is that it's difficult to watch kids walk to school when there's no shade and there's no, a lot of kids are walking, they're not taking the bus, or there's not even the opportunity to take the bus, and the lack of trees in front of people's houses, etc. And that is disturbing. It's always been disturbing to us at Tree Fresno. I will say that in the past, and I would say that's present now, is working in the areas of Malaga and Calwa, and in I would say the industrial triangle, which I'm not quite sure where that falls into. There are these areas where there isn't the infrastructure in place yet to be able to actually access water or to move forward with some of these projects. And that's always been frustrating to me, is if there's no sidewalks and there's no gutters, and there's not the ready access to irrigation, it slows our ability to meet that need. And we did one project in the industrial triangle to where it was actually a private enterprise. So a private company actually agreed with us to they went through the process of putting in basically the sidewalks, the sidewalks in place, like figured out the space that they needed to give the city for that. And they put in the infrastructure itself before we planted trees on a property that didn't even have a development on it. And one of the objectives was to show that it is actually possible to plant the trees before we actually develop the area. So it's kind of a new or novel idea, certainly for Fresno. But again, there is this control of property and the readiness for the property to be planted. So I hear you, and I will continue to work with the schools as much as possible, especially on the property on their school grounds, to maximize the number of trees that can be planted on those school grounds. Sometimes outside of their front door, it is just dirt and there's no sidewalks and so we run into issues with that. And frankly, I'm sorry about that we can't do anything about that, but we will, and Julio, I can't wait till he presents as well. We have this complimentary program, and that is planting trees, 15-gallon trees, community trees in these locations that need them the most, including along streets, and working with the city of Fresno if they are a part of that, or working with the county if they're a part of that, or working with even a private enterprise to help make that happen. So thank you, Lilia, for your feedback. I really value and appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the really important feedback, Lilia and Mona, for your response.
And Nayame's
yeah,
going to chime in here.
Yeah, I have some comments, but I think I will wait because poor Julio has been patiently waiting to show his photos of the trees that have been planted, and then I can add to complement what Lilia is saying about the people, the residents wanting trees in the street, not necessarily inside their homes or in addition to the ones in their homes. So I'll wait after Julio's presentation, but I see Dr. Curry also has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just curious about the boundaries of the Golden State going north. How far north on Golden State are you going? Anticipating planting trees, and does that get to some locations that are clearly in West Fresno, say the Lotus Avenue area? Does it get to areas where there are actually residents?
Scott, do you mind taking that one? Because I think we have church towards the north.
Correct. I thought, and I don't have that exhibit right in front of me, Dr. Curry, I thought California Avenue was the northern limit on this particular Tree Fresno project application. And of course, beyond California, Golden State really starts to look, it starts to dip down and joins with Highway 99 north of there. So in California is really that connection and gateway into the Southwest Fresno communities, to the west, the 41 corridor, 99-41 corridor.
Thank you. And did that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up, Dr. Curry?
Thank you. I'll continue to look at the map, but thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not seeing any other hands or comments in the chat about the vegetative barriers. So I think we can hear from Julio our presentation and updates on the urban greening.
Can I share my screen with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so en primer lugar, buenas tardes, buenas noches, good evening, happy new year. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. And with anything new, just like this new year, we're going to run into a lot of challenges, and we're going to run into a lot of opportunities to create a greener Fresno. That is my belief, and that is my commitment to this particular program. So I'm going to share with you what's kind of been going on for the past three to 4 months since I've been on board. My name is Julio Lopez, and I'm the Urban Greening Coordinator for the Central California Environmental Justice Network, CCEJN. And I'm going to talk to you about what's been kind of going on with the Adopt a Tree program. So I'm going to talk to you about tree planting and tree adopters.
Julio, are you sharing your screen? We cannot see it, or I don't know if it's
cannot see it?
me.
I was going to say we can't see your screen if you are sharing.
Okay, here we go. Let me see here. Can you see it now?
Yes,
Can you
thank
see it
you.
now? Okay. All right, so let me close this. All right, so let me go here. All right, so I'm going to talk about some tree plantings that we've done and then some tree adopters. I'm going to show you some pictures of some tree adopters that are working with us in collaboration with Tree Fresno and other nonprofit organizations in creating a greener Fresno. So far, we've met with about 20 community-based organizations to discuss opportunities to plant trees here in Fresno in the AB 617 area. We have attended 20 community events, and about 125 people have been contacted to participate in the Adopt a Tree program. I've gone door to door knocking in the city of Callaway and Malaga to about 30 homes were visited, where I spoke to about 15 people about the Adopt a Tree program. And so with climate investment, San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, CCEJN, and Tree Fresno, we're all working collaboratively to create a greener Fresno. All right. So trees available to the AB 617 area residents are, so our urban greening project residents who reside in the AB 617 area are eligible to receive 5-gallon drought tolerant trees provided by Tree Fresno, and compost is actually provided by the Cadvia company. So we have we have 4 tree types that we have available, which is the ginkgo, the Chinese pistache, the bay laurel, and the blue oak. I can tell you just based on the 4 months that I've been doing this job that the ginkgo and the Chinese pistache are our most popular trees. People tend to like them. And as Lilia said earlier, a lot of people are kind of, on the same boat that she is. They want fruit trees on their properties. And we don't have fruit trees. We have water tolerant, drought tolerant trees that we're providing to our residents. So it's taking a while for people to understand that this is not a program where you get fruit trees to plant on your yard. These are specific trees that are going to be drought tolerant, and we're actually providing them with some technology to help keep these trees alive as the years go on. All right, these are 3 ginkgos that were planted on Montecito Street off of Cedar Avenue. These trees tend to be our most popular one because they're yellow. As the year goes on, they turn a yellowish
Julio,
color, and as the
sorry
and
to
as
interrupt.
yeah,
Could you slow down a little bit
sure,
for our interpreters?
sure.
Thank you.
You can continue, Julio. Just mind your speed. Don't go
Sure.
too fast.
Yeah. So as I was saying, these tend to be our most popular trees. We planted about 3 ginkgos, and in the back area near the post, you can kind of see some bay laurel tree that was parked there. That was actually planted there. Um, this is myself and a coworker at a Posada event in Calwa. This is the Eligero family with the volunteer Ruben Morales who helped us out plant some trees. This family has about 3 daughters. We planted 2 trees on the front yard. 2 of the older daughters decided that they would take responsibility for the 2 trees. The youngest daughter was kind of a little kind of let down. So what we decided to do is we're going to come back next month and we're going to plant an additional tree in their backyard. So all these young ladies can have a tree. They've actually committed to adopting the trees and taking care of them. So in spite of some of the things that you've heard, I'm going to tell you that people are interested in trees. And despite what some people might say that they want, fruit trees on their yard, there are people that are interested in planting trees on their property. There are a lot of people that have said that, yeah, we want them on the walkways. Well, the walkway trees go through a process that we have met with the city of Fresno with. This is a process that was not in place. We are starting a brand new program, and we're starting a new program. We run into challenges, but we hope that in our next report, when we report on our next meeting, we're able to provide you with actual numbers of how many referrals have been made to the city of Fresno, because we have met with the Fresno City Public Works Department, and we have a contact person that we are sending all of our referrals to. So as I stated earlier, this is a process. It doesn't happen right away. And so we've had to sort of, reinvent the wheel pretty much on this project. And so it is taking a little bit of time. So I ask that you give us a little patience and understand that whenever you start something new, you're going to run into challenges, and like the challenges that we're running into. So this is another tree adopter. This is Lupe Rascon. This is in the Windshield Elementary School area. She decided to adopt a Chinese pistache tree. This is a tree in her backyard. She actually had a dead tree in her backyard. And here's one of the things that I wanted to share with the committee is that people have planted trees. They've had trees planted on their property, but what's happened is these trees have died or they've been cut down by the city or themselves. And so they have these large stumps on their backyards that they can't afford to take out. This particular person happens to be an elder person on a fixed budget. She wants the old tree removed from her backyard, but we don't have an actual contractor that we work with. Tree Fresno does not have a contractor. So that's something that I'm kind of like working on with a couple of different folks that might be able to assist us in maybe working out some sort of deal where they work with our residents in getting those old tree stumps out of their backyard so we can plant an additional tree. This is not only happening in the Winchell area, but in other areas like in Malaga and Calva, where residents are interested in adopting trees, but they have the old remnants of old trees that were there that they want to get rid of. So this is something that we might sort of bring up with our other collaborating partners to see if we can develop a partnership where we can actually help the residents get rid of their old stump trees in their backyards and their front yards as well. So on December 16th of last year, we planted about 19 trees. Some of them were in the 93702 area. Some of them were in the Winchell area. There was a couple in the Tower in the Lowell district area where we planted them. This is Diglis Delgado. This is our second tree planting, which took place on December the 16th. We planted about 9 trees, myself and about 3 or 4 other volunteers. Dug the holes, planted the trees. This is a certificate that they all get. And on her hand is a tree diaper. This is new technology that we provide all of our tree adopters. They get a actual tree diaper that they can put around the tree after 2 years of watering the tree. The goal is that even despite if the resident does not water this tree, the tree diaper will provide enough water to keep this tree alive. This is Johnny Serrano with Mark Yanel. He's a tree arborist with Tree Fresno who's been helping me. He helped me out a great deal during our first tree planting event. This gentleman was actually wanting to adopt 4 trees in his backyard, but after having a conversation with his wife told him that he can only have one. So he opted to have one, and so he wants additional trees on his walkway. So we're working with him in getting the city those referrals so those trees can get planted on the street side. This is a Chinese pistache tree, as I stated. Residents receive stakes, the ties, the zip ties, compost. They pretty much get everything, given to them when we do the tree planting events. Some of them get excited. Some of them were excited about this new technology of the tree diaper. And so this is Juan Ramirez, another tree adopter in the Lowell district. This is the Bay Laurel tree. Mark is showing him how to actually plant the tree. We go through an actual process where we show the residents how to plant the tree. We dig the hole for them. We show them how to plant the tree, how to take care of it. We do everything for them. And at the very end, we ask them to water it 3 to 4 times, during the time that we're there, we make sure that there's enough water on that tree before we actually leave the site. So this happened to be one of the sites that we're at where Mark was helping myself and Juan Ramirez plant a couple of trees in his backyard. So this is a very, very unique program because we get to interact not just with our residents, but with our local residents that live within the city of Fresno itself. I've met a lot of interesting people. I've met people that have a lot of fruit trees in their backyard. And I asked them, so do you use a lot of water to like plant all your trees here? One of the things they share with me is that they don't use a lot of water. So despite what people say that you need a lot of water for a tree to survive, there are people in Calwa that have a beautiful backyard with tons of greenery everywhere and are not using as much water as we think that they should be. Okay, go back here. Okay, so Creative Greener Fresno, our community, our collaborating partners, the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, Tree Fresno, and of course, our Central California Environmental Justice Network. I'd like to go ahead and open it up and see if anybody has questions about what we've been kind of going on. One of the things that I want to share with you is that we do have the 5-gallon trees, which are the Adopting Tree program, which I am sort of coordinating. We also have the 15-gallon trees, which are the walkway trees that we've been kind of mentioning. Those are a different process. Those take a little bit of time to get planted. And unfortunately, we haven't seen any planting of those trees. We're hoping that when we provide you with an update on our next meeting, we can actually show you that some of those trees are actually they have actually been planted. We'll show you some pictures and we'll give you some numbers of how many of those trees have been planted in the areas where those requests have been made. I was not aware that you actually have to fill out a request form, which is called a forestry request form from the city of Fresno to get a tree planted on your front yard. This is a whole new concept, a whole new process for me. I was completely unaware of it. But after having our meeting with the city of Fresno landscaping public works division, they made us aware that there is a process that you go through. There is a website where you can actually, sign up for it if you're interested in it. I actually have the form, so whenever I do an outreach event, whenever I am whenever I'm talking to residents about trees, I let them know that this is a process that we go through. Sure.
Thank you, Julio. I see we have a couple comments and questions in the chat. There's some agreement with Lilia's comment about the need to plant more trees and greenery around schools. And we also have a question from Natalie that I'll read out loud. If the trees are planted through AB 617, is there a way to ensure that they are protected and do not get cut down by the city?
I would let the city answer that one. The trees that are inside the people's homes, obviously the city won't have authority, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I believe they are not, unless they're gonna be like a danger to the public or others, they wouldn't cut them. But I think the question is more about the trees that have been on the streets or on the sidewalks or all that. And, just want to make a point. And that was the comment that I was going to make. Yes, it's true that when we have gone out, people say we want the trees not only inside our houses, but also in the streets. And as Julio pointed out, this is a new process. So we want to thank Public Works for meeting with Tree Fresno and CCJ to come up with a system, put it in place. But, Scott, you're here listening how important it is for our residents to get these trees planted. So just a humble request of making sure that we are able to hurdle those applications, as efficiently as possible, so that there is not, such a delay. Some of the streets that we have pointed out to the city were sent, almost 2 months ago, and we have not heard back. And, we are kind of like the buffer between the resident and the city. So we encourage them to be patient, but, anything that we can do to help expedite the process, so not only the homes, but the streets have more trees would be great. And as well, the question of what can be done to ensure that the trees that, are being planted are going to be taken care of, and also all trees removed.
I thought that was an excellent question as well. And that's why really we look for the homeowner signing on just that they are supportive of having the tree and that they would care for that and water it. The biggest reason really that trees are cut down is because they are diseased, essentially dangerous, or dead. And again, what drives that? And it winds up being, generally speaking, the lack of water. We know the drought conditions that we've gone through, both as a state, as a valley, and during those periods, just water has been essential. And the amount of water that a street tree needs in that park strip, Mona may have exact data on that right at her fingertips, but it's a very, very small amount of water relative to what people use with just their showers, washing dishes, or a lawn. A lawn is very, very thirsty and uses significant amount of water, but a street tree does not. And so really there's just such tremendous benefit to the community. We really try to emphasize that message and work with our partners on the project to encourage that. So I think that's kind of a long answer, but it's really most critical that we have that partnership with the homeowner and the residents who will just water that tree, ensure that we're not going to get the tree stressed, dying, disease, dying, pests, insects infiltrating them. So hopefully that's helpful. And we're there to help educate and field any questions that residents may have also.
I'd also like to add, I think this is a good opportunity to mention, this is why we work directly with the city on their application process, and so that they recognize that actually these trees exist now. This is why we don't just go out and plant street trees or plant trees on medians and kind of go rogue that way, because there's no plan for long-term care and maintenance. And this is also the same when we work with schools. So even at the school level, and Naomi and Julio and I've talked about this before, it's great when it comes from the parents, of the students and the students themselves, the request for schools to have more trees on campus. But ultimately, we as the professionals in this line of work, we know that we have to work with grounds and maintenance and operations to actually determine what those locations will ultimately be and how those trees will get watered and cared for. So that really is why it takes much longer to plant trees in urban areas than the average person would think. So we hate that it takes a lengthy amount of time, but again, ultimately, we want a tree that's the right tree planted in the right place, so that has the opportunity to live decades into the future.
And I want to add, because I saw Dr. Curry's question, that is, what is the process for a resident to adopt a tree in their home, so inside their home, so without going through the city process? So I'll let Julio take that question. We have been working on creating different ways to make it easier on the resident, including a website that is going to be bilingual, and it's just a tiny bit to be ready. And we will ask for your help to put it in your social media and just share it with everybody that you can. But in the meantime, before I do that, I also want to acknowledge that we have been working with some of you here in this space. I want to thank Lilia for Familias en Acción being one of the first organizations who actually hosted community meetings, who actually walked and knocked at doors and asked residents to adopt a tree. I also want to acknowledge Friends of Calua, who had met with Julio several times and also offered their support. And we have been also working with the local schools. So good news, just right an hour before this meeting, the Malaga principal called that they want trees, and we're in the waiting mode for the Calo Elementary, Winchell, and others. So rest assured that we're doing the best that we can to move this along, but we cannot do it alone. And we want to acknowledge and thank the leaders here that have been very helpful in the outreach process. But Julio, you want to say more about how to apply for the tree? You're muted.
So yeah, thank you, Naomi. So one of the things that we do is whenever I go and do outreach at an outreach event, let's say, Kimberly McCoy has a community event, she invites me over. What I do is I basically take people's names and addresses and phone numbers down. And what I do is I gather all that information. I come back to the office, I contact them, I set up an appointment where we talk about, where it is that they want this tree. I go and visit their home. They tell me where they want this tree exactly. I tell them, okay, this is a good spot, this is not a good spot. We discuss that. We talk about where they want that actual tree. I actually have little white flags where I actually draw a circle we plot it on their property. I come back to the office, I generate a ticket, I contact all of the utility providers. Once that ticket is approved by them, I go ahead and set up an appointment where Chief Fresno and myself order those trees. Once we get those trees, we set up an actual planning event, but we cannot actually do anything until we get approval from the utility providers that there's nothing under that ground where we're actually going to be digging. If we're going to dig on anyone's property and we rupture any gas lines or anything like that, God forbid that it happens, but one of the things that we're trying to alleviate is that from actually occurring. So whenever we're digging, one of the things that we want to ensure is that we're not breaking any gas lines, any water lines underground. And so that's where 811 comes in. I take care of all of that, identifying the location for planting the tree, including calling 811 in the city. And so anyone can call me at 559 739 1977. I set up an appointment with them. Like I said, I go and visit their home. They tell me where they want this tree planted. Will we review the forms and anyone interested in adopting a tree to ensure the tree's health and survival, taking into consideration the site and appropriateness. So that's pretty much the process. It's not a
What is
very
the website? Do we have it?
process.
Can you post it?
Mona, do you want to go ahead and let the committee know about the website? Is it?
Yeah, sure. We just so it's absolutely brand new, but it's on the treefresno.org website. And it should be, I don't know if it's connected yet to CCEJN, but literally Julio told me that today he experimented with it. But this will get distributed on social media. Remember, the residents do have to fall within this boundary area, and that's a particular, that's a little bit of a challenge for us when people outside of the boundary area, want to participate in the program. My hope is that we have another program like this after this program is a wild success. So, but I think that it's so I want to mention here, and Julio and I have been working together on this because the two of us don't have a connection to every single community group that's out there in this boundary area that is interested, whether in community trees, like what we were talking about with, street and schools, et cetera, or even private business that falls in this area where trees can be most beneficial, or the residential trees, the Adopt a Tree program, the 5-gallon. So if you have an invitation for one of us to speak to a group, we will go there and speak to them about this program so that we can get more participation.
Thank you for all that information. And I just want to point out we're running a little short on time, and I know we have a lot more to talk about tonight. So I think we can take Lydia's question or comment and see if there's anything else that we can note down before we move to the next agenda item. So, Lilia, please go ahead.
Sí, nada más es para clarificar rapidito, perdón. Mona y Julio, un buen trabajo de verdad. En mis reuniones como líder de la comunidad o como residente de la comunidad afectada del ABC-17 es trabajar y pasar la voz. Me dio gusto saber que Low aceptó ser parte de ustedes. En la junta que tuve con ellos el año pasado antes de terminar, los comenté en las 9 organizaciones que estamos colaborando con Drive. Comenté lo que están haciendo ustedes de Adopta un Árbol, les pasé la información y me dijeron que se conectaron con ustedes y gracias por ser parte de ellos también y poder trabajar con ellos, con la comunidad de Low. Entonces, la comunidad de amigos de Calagua también fueron parte de Drive y es parte de lo que estamos trabajando. Familias en Acción quiere colaborar en todo lo que pueda. Si no podemos tener los árboles aquí, de pérdida que nuestros colaboradores que viene siendo Drive tengan la oportunidad de plantar sus árboles a sus alrededores de sus escuelas. Gracias, Mona. Gracias, Nayamin, por seguir apoyando y ojalá en este proyecto no se quede atrás. Seguíamos con el proyecto como estábamos, que los residentes necesitamos esos árboles también aquí localmente y seguir trabajando con la ciudad de Fresno.
I know we have to move, but I have a suggestion, and I don't know, this is tricky because I am the alternate today, but so I if you indulge me, I would like to suggest that we do a follow-up meeting of the subcommittee that was working on this before, so what we can discuss, especially what was brought up earlier about other locations for vegetative barriers, like, you know, how we can ensure that these barriers are going to be protected sensitive receptors. And I know the city is working already with MONA, but there's opportunities to still recommend other sites. So I think that, you know, if we can, you know, the air district can help facilitate that meeting, it will be very good.
Yes, great suggestion. And we can definitely note that as an action item and work with the air district to schedule that subcommittee meeting. And thank you all so much for all of the engagement. It's really important, and definitely value all of the community input tonight. I know that we are a little short on time, and so we may have to push our standing updates and some of that 2024 planning to email, so we can get to our next agenda item, which is the truck reroute study. So I don't want to take up any more time, but just want to note that this has been another primary concern for the CSC. There's been a lot of movement about the truck reroute study and a lot of progress in the past few months. And so we are happy to again welcome the city of Fresno here tonight to provide the CSC with some key updates. And then again, we'll have some time for discussion and questions. And so I think I am passing it to Jill.
Yes, you are. Good evening, everybody. Jill Gormley, the Assistant Director with the Public Works Department. And I have a presentation, I'll share it. It's kind of a abridged version of something that if you attend a community meeting tomorrow, you will see as well. And so we'll get started on that in the interest of time. Okay, are you seeing the right screen?
Yes.
After years of doing this, you think I'd know, but I still can't tell what screen I'm sharing. So again, I'm Jill Gormley. I'm the Assistant Director with Public Works Department. And this is an update of our truck reroute and health assessment studies. If you remember, we do have two different studies going on. We have the truck reroute study, and in parallel, we have the health assessment. We've been working on both of these for about almost a year and a half now, I think, with our consultant teams. And we are looking to remove impacts from the truck traffic in neighborhoods in the AB 617 area, as well as assess the different health impacts that the neighborhoods are seeing related to air pollution, truck exhaust, and try to come up with solutions and strategies to mitigate those situations. Oops, I think I skipped in there. So in the last almost a year now, we've done quite a bit of outreach with both studies. You can see from this the different community meetings that have been held. They could be surveys, they could be pop-up events. We've also done quite a bit in the way of social media that I will share here in a second. These are some of the different themes that have been presented at the community meetings and some of the feedback that we've gotten. What's important to the neighborhoods are pedestrian and bicycling, safety issues, truck behaviors, and then the roadway infrastructure issues. And those you can see on here, they can be just damage, lack of infrastructure, and different queuing or traffic congestion issues. Again, here's some of the outreach that the truck reroute study has done as far as social media. We've put quite a few posts up, got quite a few impressions, and these are the definitions of what the impressions are. People looking at them, are they interacting with the posts? Are they actually engaging with the posts? So you can see some of the different types of outreach that has been done. This is just for the truck study, this one right here. This slide talks about what has been done on the health assessment side. They've conducted about 1,800 surveys from residents inside the AB 617 area. Screenshot of the demographics of that and what the people that they were talking to looked like, felt like, their situations. So this kind of gives you an idea of who is responding to the health assessment questions and the surveys that they were asking. Right now, we are at the point where we have a draft strategy developed for the truck reroute study. And that was developed with different things in place: community outreach, existing conditions, best practices from across the nation. We have to keep in mind the goods movement and also the health assessment. What were those surveys? What were we hearing? What are some of the recommendations that you will see in that health assessment study? So for the truck reroute, these are some of the strategies that are being proposed at different places throughout the AB 617 area. So they are looking at adding sidewalks, different truck focused signage, crosswalks, bike lanes, traffic calming, reconfiguring the road, having some truck regulated areas, doing some maintenance on some of the roads that might not be in the best shape. And this is a map of where some of these where they're recommending some of these strategies take place. You can see on Jensen, for example, they've identified that as an area that needs some roadway maintenance. This pink area, those are all what they're calling a truck regulated area. We've got different traffic calming, say on Orange, up here on Belmont, just different strategies that would help to reduce the impacts from trucks or to remove them from different neighborhoods altogether. Some of the non-infrastructure strategies that are being proposed in the draft strategies report is education, different enforcement activities to make sure that if it's not a truck route, they're not being used as truck routes, alternative fuels, different time of day restrictions, just anything these are the things that are not related to physically fixing the road or adding different infrastructure type improvements to the system. This is what some of those survey feedbacks produced. So for this particular survey, they had 256 people that responded to the survey or visited the event for the survey, that 85 that actually completed the surveys. Some of the concerns that they had with this actual survey was, the online accessibility for it. It was close to the holidays, and they need some more clarity and coordination with the health impact and more feedback from the Southeast area. So, yes. On to the health assessment. The health assessment really has 4 distinct chapters in it. It talks about pollution and adverse birth outcomes, air pollution and asthma, air pollution, cardio-cerebral vascular disease, and then the chapter on the community-based health survey in the South Fresno community area. Again, they did almost 1,800 surveys. These were some of the concerns that came out from the residents from their surveys. And then some of the health-related type of situations that we kind of go along with these questions, that more than 40% of the people that participated in the survey had one or more chronic condition. That could be asthma, that could be dealing with preterm births. Many were reported that they're unable to rest because of the air pollution or truck and traffic noise in the area. And those experiences also were related with some health outcomes that were found in the study. The majority of the people that completed the survey would like to see some sort of policy action in response to these studies. And 84% of them supported some sort of truck rerouting in this area to reduce pollution in their neighborhoods. Some of the kind of really high level outcomes or results of the survey, the health assessment survey, excuse me, is that people that live within 1,000 feet of the highway had increased risks of preterm birth and infant mortality rates. There's also some correlation with them living within 300 feet of major roads. When compared with the rest of the city, the impacts in the AB 617 were stronger or higher. There were correlation between the PM 2.5 and ozone on asthma and cardiocerebral vascular disease. And then the effects of the pollutants were shown to be stronger among communities of color and within the AB 617 community boundaries. So our next steps, we're coming down to the end of the efforts on both of these studies. We do have a community meeting tomorrow where our consultant team will be present, both from UC Merced to talk about the health assessment, and also from Arcadis. If you've been with us for a while, they started out as IBI, but they merged with another company, so they are now Arcadis, to talk about the draft strategies from the truck reroute study, as well as the findings of the health assessment. It's an open house. It's at the Malaga Community Park and Recreation Center. The first part of the meeting will be a presentation on both studies. And then there will be opportunities for everybody to ask questions, get more information. And then there will be this public review and comment period on the draft implementation plan and the health assessment that will run from about February 2nd through March 4th. So after they compile all of the comments and questions from tomorrow's meeting, they'll take those back and try to incorporate those into the draft implementation plan that they will release for public comment. And lastly, we are hoping to get these studies before the City of Fresno Planning Commission and City Council bodies sometime in early spring, so that we can button them up and get them adopted and accepted. And I am available to answer any questions I can. Again, I think if there's more detail will be given tomorrow in the community meetings. We'll have the consultants there to provide more information and probably provide more detail to any questions or concerns that anybody may have.
Thank you, Jill. And I see we already have a hand up. Go ahead, Natalie.
Hey, Jill, thank you. I just have like a couple questions, and I think one of my main concerns comes from the fact that this was supposed to be like a truck reroute study where certain routes were supposed to be rerouted so that they're away from sensitive receptors, but it looks like that's not necessarily happening with these truck regulated areas. So I'm just wondering, how is it that the number of trucks is going to decrease in these communities? And I think my second thing is just being in the community advisory group. I don't think we ever received like the final version of the health assessment. And I think that's important to give out to folks that are serving on the committee.
Yeah, to address number one, so there will be some removal of routes. That's part of what you'll hear tomorrow in the meeting. And then still taking some comments on that to make sure that, based on the feedback that was received in the prior outreach efforts, if it jives with what the consultant groups were hearing, and just make sure that that's what they're hearing. So those strategies that I showed, I didn't show a map of any of the routes that were being taken off, but that has been a big part of the discussion as far as trying to get some routes off of roadways that have sensitive receptors, schools or parks or other businesses, residential areas that might, it's just not a good idea to have those routes in those areas. So that is part of what the final study will present, and it will update our official truck route map to remove those routes with that council action. And you should be seeing that more with the presentations from the consultants. And then the health assessment, you will see it tomorrow. I mean, it's still draft, so there's still opportunity to comment on that. We've just had it. It's pretty extensive study. It's got a lot of data, a lot of statistics. And so that'll be tomorrow, presenting that. And I do apologize for not getting that out to the group sooner, for a sneak peek at that, but that will be the opportunity to have the peek at that is tomorrow.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And Julio, I see your hand up, but we typically, since you're not a formal member of the CSC, we have public comments at the end of the agenda item, so that we can prioritize the CSC members. So we'll get to you after the CSC members have a chance. Thank you. But I see Dr. Curry, your hand is up, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Are you going to be correlating the health outcomes at the level of the census tract with the amount of truck traffic that you've already identified? So will you be connecting those 2 points so that you could actually look and see at particular census tract level based on Calendar Screen 4.0? Are you going to be looking to connect those dots so that you can actually pull the truck traffic that you already are familiar with, and then looks more specifically at what the health outcomes are in specific places? And is that going to be a part of the truck rerouting? Because that's kind of what we envision, is that we get this data and that would help direct the truck traffic away from sensitive receptors.
So I would say that the health assessment has done that to the best that they can with the data that they have. They've used a ton of different data sources to provide that data. And so to the best that they are able to use what is available to them from these different sources, they have done that.
So they'll use the data that's available to them. They will pair that with the city's accounting or tracking of what the truck traffic looks like in specific areas. Will those 2 be combined? And is that what you're going to be using for the basis for drafting the rerouting? Because that's kind of the whole point, is that we would be moving away from continuing to overburden particular groups of folks. So is that still the intent?
It is the health assessment outcomes and the recommendations from that are being used to determine are we going to remove this route here, or this route over here needs to be removed? So yes, they are correlated. They are using those recommendations from the health study. There are some recommendations in there about the truck routes and where they should be located, and they will be reflected in the final document of the truck reroute study and on our map.
And so that document is the one that you're talking about that would be released in February for public review?
Actually, you're gonna probably see the map tomorrow and a draft version of that document tomorrow at the meeting, and then for more comments on it, and the consultant team will take those comments back and incorporate those, and then that document will be what you see in February with the comments from tomorrow.
Okay, and if folks are not able to travel to Malaga for the meeting tomorrow, is it also a virtual meeting or no?
It is not a virtual meeting, but we have emails, or if there's somebody who is interested in speaking with our consultant team, we can see about setting up a phone call with them to ask questions.
Well, I'm glad that both of them have continued to move forward. I am concerned that there's still significant parts of the community that are not going to be able to weigh in and not going to be able to be present in the time that it is set up for them to review and provide input. So I do have a concern about that.
Yeah, I just also wanted to second Venice's concern with, you know, the community having input just because of the location, but I was just wondering if there are plans to do another in-person workshop, just because I know that when the first version of the map was released, it was during the holidays. So I'm not sure how much folks actually interacted or saw the survey, and I think it closed December 16th, but I was just wondering if there will be another in-person workshop for folks to attend in the future.
Right now, this is our last workshop.
Yeah, thank you for those comments and highlighting some concerns about the time needed for community to engage. Dr. Curry, I see your hand is still up, so want to see if you have additional comments that you'd like to share.
No, if there's an opportunity to have an additional meeting, or to have the community have access to the document in advance so that they could provide input, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. And just to clarify, because even I was getting a little confused. So there's a draft document that will be presented tomorrow or be shared so that folks can kind of read it on their own time after tomorrow.
So we've been having comment periods with each section of the report. So this is the final section of the report for comments. And then once we have the comments on this draft implementation plan, and then separately on the health assessment, we'll get those, work with the consultant teams on those, and incorporate them into the final document that would go out for more public review. And that's those that would be the February dates that I showed.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. And so it sounds like some folks may not be able to attend that meeting tomorrow night. And so just want to, again, clarify, I'm hearing you. So if folks would like to hear more about that meeting, or talk with you to submit feedback or comments, who should they reach out to for that?
They can use our AB 617 email address. And I'm going to have to pull it up here to give you exactly what you need. I didn't put it on a slide. I apologize.
Thank you.
Okay, emails can be sent to AB 617 truck reroute study at fresno.gov. And I can type it into the chat as well.
Thank you. And so we'll include that in our action item tracker and give folks that email as well. Just want to pause. I don't think I see questions coming up in the chat, and I don't see other hands. So are there any other questions or comments coming up for the CSE right now? Not seeing any. So I think we can, I know we had a couple members of the public, and Julio, are you still in the meeting?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, okay, there you are. Would love to hear your comment.
So my question was, there was a consulting group that was hired to do the survey, correct?
Yeah, the UC Merced did contract with a group to actually do the door-to-door surveys.
That was door-to-door surveys, because I just wanted to make a comment that during the time that the survey was being conducted, it was a pretty elaborate survey. It wasn't very user-friendly. I mean, you had to have a certain level of expertise to be able to, navigate that survey. It was pretty, I don't know if it was tested, but I was trying to get other people from the community. I sent them the link, and unfortunately, by the time they got it, the survey had already been closed. So I don't know who chose the dates, but it would have been nice if a couple of other people would have been able to take part of that survey. That was all that I wanted to say.
Thank you for the comment, Julio. Okay. I'll read another public comment in the chat out loud. Reduce nighttime air pollution by supporting the lawsuit against Kern County's blanket permit and EIR for thousands of new oil wells without concern for unsafe radioactive sites. The court hearing will be in Fresno court next week. Thank you, Laura, for that comment. And if there are no other questions or comments, then I think we can close this agenda item and, oh, I see a hand. Natalie, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, Liz. I just wanted to plug in two key events that are happening next week regarding like our Caltrans campaign. So we just wanted to invite folks on our on the CSC to attend the demurrer court hearing on Wednesday, the 24th at 1 p.m. It'll be at Fresno County Superior Court. And so we're just inviting folks to show up to the court just to express their support in opposition of Caltrans and the interchange expansion on the 99 for the interchanges on American Avenue and North Avenue. Just because right now we do have an open lawsuit against Caltrans because they failed to essentially analyze like the project's impacts on the surrounding communities of South Central, Cowell, and Malaga. And we're just inviting folks to show up at the court with us. We can also provide support to pay for parking. And then another thing too happening on the same day is we're going to be having a calling party for the California Transportation Commission hearing, just because they also want to allocate another $43 million to the American Avenue interchange. And so we're encouraging folks to meet up at our office and make public comment so that that money can be reallocated for community identified transportation priorities. So if you're interested, please send me like an email, and I'll also forward this information to I think Stephanie or the folks that lead the CSC. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. And Lilia, go ahead.
Sí, tengo una pregunta nada más. A nosotros nos mandaron un mensaje, por cierto, le dije a Ana, no sé si Ana está presente, relacionado con una conferencia que tendrán el próximo mes, el día 10 de febrero, creo. Confundieron a las familias, no sé si ustedes tienen algo que ver con esto o es otra coalición que está hablando sobre el aire y contaminantes del medio ambiente. ¿No tienen alguna información ustedes? Estaban pidiendo a los residentes que por favor se registraran para esta junta, que es como una convención de 2 días y presentación desde el jueves. Entonces estaban confundidas las familias, las personas no se pudieron registrar porque que se ocupaban viaje, que se ocupaban hotel, que se ocupaban transporte, o sea, los tenían todos confundidos porque no sabían si iba a ser aquí localmente en Fresno o iba a ser a otra parte. Como sabíamos, ustedes saben que como comité o parte de los comités, hemos viajado a otras partes a abogar sobre el medio ambiente. Entonces, queríamos saber si tienen alguna información ustedes relacionado con esto.
Dijo que era febrero 10, Lilia.
Así es, Nayamin.
Ok, creo que yo sé que es, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Maybe Genevieve.
I'm sorry. it wasn't interpreted, so I don't understand.
So she has the comment about the what is happening, the air quality, whatever the name is, in February for 2 days. She was confused, who was organizing it and why they were asking for lodging information if it was going to happen in Fresno.
Oh, okay. That's a separate. Yes, I'm sorry. I lost connection and then didn't reset my interpretation. Let me do that right now. I believe that's a private event hosted by the Coalition for Clean Air. It's like a clean air boot camp, and it's being hosted in Fresno over the course of a weekend, but it is intended for the larger San Joaquin region. And so people who are traveling to Fresno, they will get lodging. But this is a Coalition for Clean Air event, and I believe the registration is completely full. So sorry to others that are just hearing about it. Does that answer the question?
Sí, muchas gracias.
Thank you all. And just to wrap up our agenda item for the trucks, we're taking notes and action items behind the scenes, and we just want to follow up on Dr. Curry's point. We're not sure if we got an action item out of that, and the point was if there's any possible way, maybe the Air District could follow up with the city of Fresno after tonight to see if there's any possibility to get that draft report out sooner, or if there could be maybe an additional meeting with the CSC members. So just want to check to see if we can get any action item out of that concern and comment.
Jill, I think you said that the draft is going to be made available, the health impact assessment tomorrow.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, if you have a draft version that you want us or that can be shared with the committee, I mean, we'd be happy to share it with the committee.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is this posted on the website? Would it be posted on the website at any point?
The documents?
Yes, and I guess the meetings that you referenced from this past year, are those also available on the website? I'm just seeing up to 2021.
I have to check on that and see. They should be on there, but before I say yes or no, let me double check.
Oh, it sounds like maybe we're waiting on some follow-up from Jill to see if they would be able to get some information about those recent meetings.
I dropped a link into the city of Fresno's page that had all the historical CAG meeting and the information about the truck reroute study. Nancy, we can also email that out to the steering committee.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, on the truck reroute subcommittee under that tab, I'm just seeing the most current date is 12/13/2021. So is there some other place that more current meetings are listed?
Dr. Curry, did you look at the link that I put in the chat?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we'll email that out to the CSC as well.
Yeah, it looks like the AB 617, just that website is not as updated as if you go on the city of Fresno. And so I do wonder if that's confusing to folks also.
That's an excellent point, and we will update our website with links. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And so we're noting all that down for action items. And I think we can wrap up the discussion for the truck reroute study for tonight. Please feel free to continue to leave your comments in the chat and we'll record those. I just want to, yeah, I'll pass it to Vikela.
Thank you so much, Liz. And thank you everyone for asking these really important questions and getting clarity. And thank you, City, for sharing some updates around this piece. And at this moment in time, would love to just check in really briefly, given the time around the planning for the 2024 planning schedule. As we mentioned briefly in the last CSC, we noticed that there has been some low attendance to agenda setting meetings, and we wanted to take a moment to come back to that since we're really hoping that these meetings will really help set the trajectory and help identify and prioritize future CSC meeting topics. And so in light of that, I'm wondering if people had any feedback around the agenda setting meetings. We know that historically for the CSC, these meeting times have moved around a little bit in order to accommodate more schedules. And it looks like we've observed that there's still some pretty low participation in attendance, particularly amongst residents. And we were wondering if that felt like a beneficial space or if it would be more beneficial in the future to keep some time in these kind of meetings, these CSC meetings, to talk about and identify upcoming meeting topics. And so, yeah, I didn't know if you had any other thoughts that you wanted to share, Ryan or AD team, around that piece.
Yeah. No, I mean, you said it very, very accurately and well, Vikela. We over the last probably 6 to 8 months, we've seen the participation in the agenda setting meetings continue to decline, and we understand that it's challenging to set time aside not only for this meeting but then also subcommittee meetings, agenda settings, and so at the same time though, wanting to get the hear from all of you on topics of importance, and so looking and this was initially recommended by CSC going back probably a year plus ago, to set aside time in the CSC meetings to discuss agenda items for future meetings. And so towards that end, some of the suggestions that we were thinking about would be a further update on the air filtration. We've had a lot of in-person events, and Lilia, thank you for dropping in a note in there about the in-person event and the success that we had in distributing devices. We still have a lot that we need to distribute, and so continuing to raise that up and how we can do that more effectively. The other thing that we were thinking about is drive clean in the San Joaquin, the vehicle replacement program, and so as we get that geared towards starting that up with working with Valley Can. The thought would be to get more in depth and walk people through what the actual process looks like. Familiarize the community steering committee member on that process, and so you can go out in the community and share that information with your friends, relatives, other people that you know inside the boundary about that program. We did it in the Stockton CSC meeting and got a lot of positive response to that. So those were a couple that we were thinking about. The other one, and this is timely because of our recent cold front, but we were going to invite the Fresno EOC. We had heard about the desire about to hear more about the weatherization programs that are available, how to assist the community accessing those programs, and there's a lot of free programs that the EOC offers to help weatherize homes, make them less cold air getting in, retaining more heat, things like that. So those were some ideas for February, and then in March, so we'll have wrapped up our wood burning season, which ends at the end of February, and so what we typically brought is an air monitoring update in regards to the data that we've collected from that period. But yeah, happy to take feedback now or through email, calls.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing some of these ideas for topics for our next February meeting. And yes, please feel free to continue to share feedback. Share feedback in this space or via email. Lilia, I believe you had your hand raised first.
Discúlpeme porque hablo mucho, pero es que es una sugerencia nada más. Estoy mirando que están diciendo que hay falta de asistencia. ¿Por qué no, Julio, cuando haces las presentaciones de Adopta un Árbol, estamos trabajando con el área de ABC 17? Pienso que sería una buena propuesta involucrar un poquito a los residentes que se están participando en estas reuniones con Julio, y yo también voy a seguir trabajando con la comunidad para que se sigan a ver quién más se quiere involucrar, porque necesitamos más participación de los residentes principalmente que viven en esta área. Es una sugerencia solamente.
Thank you so much for sharing that really, really great suggestion, Lilia. We're going to go ahead and make an idea for that, or make an idea, make a note of that great idea. Thank you. And Naimeen, I see your hand is raised as well.
Yeah, so I think all your comments or recommendations, Ryan, are good. My only addition would be, what about the status of where we are in the funding? I know that it was mentioned in the list of the items at the beginning of the meeting of the update of the electric buses. And I think, I'm just concerned also about the funding, if there's still remaining funding for that. So then what will be the plan to try to move it out, but also for the air filtration. So I think it's been a while that we haven't heard about what is which districts actually took on took the opportunity to receive this funding, or if we would have to discuss reallocating it if it's not going to be spent there.
Yeah, no, that is an excellent idea, and I will add that to the list. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Naimeen. And I see your hands raised, Dr. Curry.
Yeah, I'm curious about where we are with the land use subcommittee, if we've had recent updates, or how we are working within that subcommittee to address some of these environmental justice issues that have to do with the city's zoning and their rezoning. And yeah, so I'd be really curious to hear about that in February.
Another really great suggestion. Thank you so much, Dr. Curry, for making a note of that. And with that, I see your comment, Laura, as well, about I could not find the link to the November AB 617 air monitoring meeting in Shafter, and I'm wondering if we could come back to that at during the public comment time of our meeting. And I see, Eric Payne, that you put in the chat, do you have a sense of when community outreach and education program will begin on AB 617? I'm wondering if a member of our AD team would be willing to speak to that, if there's an idea.
Yeah, I know, we've had the outreach subcommittee, and during those meetings, we've talked about the outreach that's being performed, taking recommendations from CSC members on additional forms of outreach, locations for outreach, things like that. And so I'm not quite sure if I understand Eric's request or question about, we are doing a lot of outreach currently on AB 617. Jamie and her team are in the community daily, weekly, in community at events, talking about AB 617 and what the program is, what it's about, what its benefits for the community are. So yeah, I mean, Eric, if you want to call us or share with us more specifically what you're looking for, we'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, so I was really speaking from the place of, in the past, we've talked about how do we engage community and educate community on the enforcement process. And a number of times there have been discussions around how you fund that with the resources that you have through AB 617. And I know that's not something that I've participated in or that I've seen communications from staff on around the public education process.
Okay, so it's specifically about the enforcement of the district rules and regulations, sharing that information with community members. So finding opportunities to go into the community and talk specifically about that. Right.
And how it aligns with AB 617.
Okay. No, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I will talk to Jamie and her team about how we can go about setting something. And if you have any suggestions on groups or organizations or types of events where we'd have an opportunity to share that information, I think that'd be great. I'm not sure what the next scheduled outreach subcommittee, if we have one scheduled, but yeah.
Yeah, I know Black History Month is approaching, so there are probably some opportunities to engage residents in the month of February.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you so much, Eric. And I see that Dr. Curry, you included in the chat another link around, looks like they met on the 8th of January, 2024. So thank you so much.
This was in response to Laura's question. This is for Shafter. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Curry. Laura, please feel free to either indicate in the chat or to indicate via hand raise if that does or does not respond to the comment you had made earlier. Well, with that, thank you all so much. These are really, really great, thoughtful suggestions around what we want to be focusing on in this space. And so we look forward to continuing the conversation around these pieces in next month, and I'm sure in the months to come. So with that, I am mindful of the time, and I know that it's, mindful of the time and wanting to respect your time. And so, yes, Laura, I see that your hand is raised.
Oh, is this public comments right now? Because I was thinking we should get to the root of the problem. Why are there so many trucks on the road and warehouses and people commuting to work? Is because in the suburban areas where people should have a lot of small businesses. We give incentives to small businesses where everyone can make almost everything we need right here in our community and not have to travel very far.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Laura. Yeah, we would love to make a note of that and to really, yeah, to continue the conversation that around this piece for sure. I will note, yeah, given the time, I'm wondering if you would feel comfortable with additional follow-up with that too, to share via email pieces around that, just in light of our limited time for the rest of this evening. Okay. So with that, our team is thinking that we would love to send out standing updates via email. And so, yes, thank you so much, everyone who was on deck to provide a standing update for tonight's meeting. And we would, yes, very much encourage email for that piece. In addition, we would love to just remind folks that our upcoming meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 14th as well. And so we look forward to continuing the conversation at that time. Yes, yes, Liz, I see.
Sorry to interrupt. So just one note is next month's meeting will be rescheduled. We heard from some of the CSE members that the February 14th, that week falls on Ash Wednesday. And so we are proposing rescheduling our CSE meeting to the following week, so February 21st. Please do let us know right now or tomorrow via email if you foresee any issue with that date as opposed to February 14th.
Thank you so much, Liz. We really appreciate that. So yes, everyone please be mindful of that. And Estella, so with that, I think we are now in our final public comment component of the evening. We recognize the time too. So yes, Estella, are there any, I see your hand is raised. Would you feel comfortable sharing briefly with the group that comment there?
Sí, mi pregunta son de que cómo o podrían ustedes poner en el programa de cuando se cambian los carros, cuando revisan el smog y qué son los requisitos, cuáles son los requisitos más en detalle, porque a veces no sabemos cuáles son los requisitos y si todos podríamos calificar para hacer un cambio de traspaso de carro o cómo se le llama.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Estella, and it would definitely be in that kind of more detailed presentation that we were recommending to bring next month. So we definitely have the requirements to participate.
Okay. Thank you so much, Estella, for raising this piece around the cars and the requirements. And thank you, Ryan, for that response. So I see your hand is still raised. Laura, did you have additional thoughts you wanted to share? Or if not, we will plan to close out the evening. Was your hand still intentionally up?
Yeah, we saying that there was a Shafted meeting in November or there was not? Because I clicked on the link and nothing appeared.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe the AD team would be willing to follow up via email around this piece. Yeah, I see head nod from Nancy.
I wonder if that's what's happening to our previous meetings too, like some of the previous meetings that I missed.
Yeah, Laura, I'm not sure because I clicked on the link that Dr. Curry sent and it takes you to the meeting page. And so the January 2024 meeting was the meeting that had the community air monitoring update.
Okay. And when's the Fresno air monitoring meeting?
We were proposing to do that in March after the wood burning season.
In March?
Thank you so much for offering that clarification, Ryan. Okay. Well, with that, in these final moments of our time today, we'd love to just take a moment to read out the action items collected over this meeting as we close for the evening. I'm wondering if my colleague Vanessa would still be willing to screen share and read those out at this time, or not as much.
Hi, yes. Thank you, Bakela. Happy to do that. Let me just share my screen with you all so you can see. Can everyone see my screen okay? All right, perfect. Well, first off, I want to thank everyone for all of your engagement and your wonderful comments and questions. These are the action items that I have included for tonight. I apologize in advance if anything has been misinterpreted. We work quickly to make sure that we're taking note of all the great things that you all are saying. So if I missed anything or you want to add something that's not already on this list, I invite you to let me know once I read these out. So first up, we have CCEJN encourages residents to reach out to set up an appointment if they are interested in the Adopt a Tree program. Second action item, Air District will schedule a vegetative barriers urban greening subcommittee meeting to continue tonight's discussion on those topics. Third action item, the City of Fresno encourages residents to email AB617 truck reroute study at fresno.gov with questions, comments, or concerns regarding truck reroute study or the health assessment that was mentioned earlier today. Action item 4, the Air District will email a draft version of the map or document that the City of Fresno will be sharing at tomorrow's community meeting with the CSC. Action item 5, the Air District will update the San Joaquin Valley air pollution website, our air pollution control district website with truck reroute study and health assessment links, as was requested earlier today. 6, the Air District will add topics related to status on electric buses, air filtration funding, and status on subcommittee tasked with addressing land use and zoning to address environmental justice issues to the February CSC meeting agenda. Action item 7, the Air District will follow up with the CSC about opportunities for community outreach throughout Black History Month. And action item 8, Air District will follow up with resident regarding difficulties accessing November AB 617 air monitoring meeting link. So those are the action items that we have for today. I welcome any questions or comments that folks would like to share about things that they'd like to add on or things that they'd like to change that I might have misinterpreted. Not seeing anything, so I'm going to pass the mic back to you, Bakela.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And yes, if anyone, please, if anyone has any thoughts or comments on any of the action items or anything from this meeting that you later realize, hey, I would like to go back to that, please absolutely feel free to respond via email or to reach out via email. So at this time, we would just love to transition to a time of closing for the meeting. We thank you everyone for your patience and know, of course, that folks had to drop off too, given the time. And so in light of that, I would love at this time to invite any closing comments from Ryan if you would like. You also don't have to if you don't want to, but I see a wave. Is that a farewell? Gotcha.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. This
Good
concludes
night.
our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the real problem was, I think it was with the Shafter Steering Committee meeting. I clicked on the link and it was something on YouTube that wasn't there anymore, the whole meeting. And I thought it was about air monitoring, that particular meeting.
Oh no. Oh no. That's
I don't
so
know what's happening with the
frustrating.
oil around the oil and gas wells.
Oh no. Okay. But you were able to get it situated, but you were able to see it now?
I don't know yet. I'm going to try now again. I tried once, so I'm trying again.
Okay.
I said to go
Yeah.
back to it.
Please let us know. You definitely want to make sure you have access to that information.
When I have time, tomorrow. Like right now, I'm exhausted.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That sounds really unfun.
What was our last air monitoring meeting over here in Fresno, too?